everybody, whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, or around the world. This is Coast to Coast, and of course, I am here with Pags and our resident Jags man, Travis Holmes. How you doing, buddy?
I am well. I'm good. I could be more than the resident Jags fan, but I am at least that.
You could be the resident Jag off.
I mean, there are worse things in life.
I said Jag man, actually.
Jag man.
That was the first thing that came to my mind. After like, there we go. That's a way to say hello there, Travis.
Yeah. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, so many ways to go with this, but I'm not going to do it. I got you. But yeah, we're here.
So let me ask you this one question, Travis, before we get into it today. Are you going to be coming up to Philadelphia?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I don't have true plans this year. I'm barely outside of training camp right now. Possibly, maybe not. I have no idea.
Gotcha. Well, you know that the Jags are coming up to Philly this year.
Oh yeah, I know.
So I wanted to just see if you were going to make the trip.
No, I have no idea. I'm week by week at this point. Let me get through training camp first.
Understood. So, and welcome to Stat Guy, who is coaching the right now the number 1 seed,
number 2,
number 2 seed,
after an 11-0 beatdown
with the Wisconsin 12 and unders.
Actually, no, this is high school.
Oh.
Our high school summer team.
Nice.
There you go. Nice. Awesome. Well, congratulations. He won't be here on Thursday because he's in a tournament.
That's right.
And then Friday, I know we play at 12:30. So
Gotcha.
we might have another game Friday morning too, but Thursday I know we play at 10 a.m.
Nice. Well, good luck. We wish you the best. So, all right.
Yeah,
go ahead. Go.
I'm not used to seeing Stat Guy all dressed up. This is new for me. This is very different, sir.
He actually wears a collared shirt most of the time.
Oh, yeah. So I just have bad luck.
Sometimes he's in his car.
Exactly.
Sometimes he's in that white chair. This was the first time I actually saw his house a little bit. He's usually in the white chair.
I got you. All right, let's do it.
All right. So, I mean, so on Monday morning, we were talking about a contract that Dak was in. This is on a different show. But Travis was in the comments, so I figured we'd come here and chat about it. I was talking about Dak potentially getting that $60 million mark since Trevor Lawrence and Goff ended up at the 55-ish area. And obviously I said that Dak was a better prospect so far. And our Jags man has a little bit of an issue with that. Now,
yeah.
The thing is with with Lawrence, I like his upside, obviously, but I want to see more out of him before I give him a ton of money. So go ahead, tell me where we're wrong.
Well, it's not that it's not tell me where we're wrong. It's not that you're so wrong. It's that, hey man, you guys are saying like, hey, Dak has done this and he's this good in the regular season, and all these things are factually correct. Like I actually do agree with that. I've often made the comparison that I honestly feel like Trevor Lawrence is Dak Prescott. Like at this current moment in time, like he hasn't done so much more or so much less. It's just the fact that one has a dreadfully bad, started off with a dreadfully bad supporting cast, and the other one actually had a good one. Like I don't think it's I don't think there's a solid argument out there to say Dak Prescott hasn't been supported. You could legitimately make the argument for Trevor Lawrence.
His roster was better, no question.
Right, significantly better. So I'm just saying, like, hey, Trevor Lawrence barely even had a number 1 receiver for the majority of his career. Like, I think the biggest argument was like maybe Calvin Ridley last year. All right, cool. And that didn't really work out in the way that he was used. So, because even he had struggles getting off press coverage and getting vertical. All right, cool. So we're saying that one guy did better with better talent. All right, cool. But that overall, they're probably around that same area. I don't think that Dak is better. He's just been simply in a better situation. And I honestly think Trevor's, ceiling is higher. He just hasn't been supported because he has a bad GM.
I mean, that's true with any quarterback, though.
Well,
like, most of your best quarterbacks were in decent situations.
I mean, sure, decent situations, but I don't know that Dak's situation isn't decent. or Dak's situation's good. Like there's not a lot of teams that can say they have better situations than Dak's overall. There's a few. There's probably like 5 to 7 max.
I mean, over the course of his career, there's been other good teams, obviously. Now, I can't, I'm not saying he's had postseason success because that has definitely not been the case. But
Right. I mean, also fair. But Trevor Lawrence has. Like actually has had postseason success, even if it's not this insane success. But I mean,
He's won one game.
he's won one game and he had
Okay, listen. If we're gonna compare, Dak
Yep.
has won 2 games in the
Yep.
playoffs. So he's and let me tell you, I could care less. I would love them to pay Dak $100 million a year for the next 12 years because that is exactly the path I want the Cowboys to go down. That being said, I hear what you're saying about not agreeing with the fact that Dak is going to get paid probably $60 million. I understand. I don't believe that he's worth it. But I feel that when you look at the bodies of work between the two, that Dak is more worthy, and I'm using that word as a very loose term, of the $60 million than Joey Lawrence or Trevor Lawrence is what I mean, is worthy of the $55 million.
Ooh.
Right now.
Why?
Well, because first off, I think that $55 million is too high. I think $60 million is way too high. So in the grand scheme of things, I feel that, hey, listen, once they paid $40 million to Daniel Jones, the number got ridiculous. So I get it. So, and I'm knowing that, realistically, I feel that Trevor is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of worth about $40 to $45 million in real money. The
guarantees.
That's with the knowledge that Pat Mahomes is worth 45.
No, so there again, but Pat Mahomes' contract was done earlier. Realistically, along that same sliding scale, Pat Mahomes is probably worth closer to the $55 million. Using that same scale at the $40 to $42 million that I think that Trevor is worth. I think on that same scale, I think Dak is worth about $45, $46 million. I know the numbers are way inflated.
No,
you know
I
what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I still put Dak a little bit higher. Now, are they worth 55 and 60 million respectively? Both no. Both are no.
Exactly.
But I'm not the one paying the checks. So I don't get to make those decisions.
Yep.
Right. The cost of the house is the cost of the house.
But I still think Trevor is still a little under Dak right now.
And that's what I said.
And it would be so easy to have an apples to apples conversation had Trevor actually, I don't know, had a good supporting cast. I don't know, had a good GM. Like some of these things, it just sucks because you're never going to have that real conversation.
Year 8 and year 3.
Exactly.
So I mean, there's a whole difference in that regards as well.
A whole contract. Yeah, a whole. Who I don't know who's been in the league for 5 years. A whole freaking Josh Allen. Difference between these guys, and how do you figure that out? But again, other than a supporting cast, because I think when you get 5 years into the future, you're going to be like, I mean, Trevor Lawrence is obviously better than Dak Prescott, and that's just my personal opinion based on clutch time, based on these situations when Trevor gets the ball when he's down a touchdown, you believe he's going to win it. Whereas if it's Dak, it's questions. Like I'm not crazy enough to just. I can objectively say that, especially if you're talking about in a big game. That's all. So I'm just like, nah.
Yeah, but you could make the argument pretty strongly about last year that Dak had nothing to do with that loss in the playoffs.
Oh, I don't put that on Dak at all.
You can't. No way. He got 38 points in the game. Usually, if you get 38 points, you win that game.
On Inside the Pigskin, not 2 months ago, I made the exact opposite argument. Like I was actually arguing that it was Dallas's defense playing all this off coverage that kind of just screwed them in that game. So I'm not that guy. I'm not trying to put down Dak to make Lawrence great. I am simply saying that they are very similar, and I honestly believe they are right there. It's just one of them just has a bad GM, and the other one's GM is at least average to above average. That's all. That's my overall opinion. I just think they're pretty close, and just one contract ahead of the other one, so I'm going to always lean to the younger guy.
All right. Well, and we can revisit this exact conversation in about 3 years
Pretty
to
much.
see if
Yeah.
that number has gotten closer. Because the truth of the matter is that I mean Dak is going to remain Dak.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Pretty
think
much
you
who
know
he
what
is,
you're
yeah.
getting with Dak.
Yeah.
I don't believe
Consistent.
that Dak is. If he was to get to an NFC championship game or a Super Bowl,
Mhm.
I feel that the pressure would be too much for him.
Mm.
That's what it comes down to. Now, I don't know strong enough, and I don't know the body of work well enough to say that Trevor won't do the same. You know,
Ooh.
again, we haven't seen him in that position yet. So
As far as
that's
forcing
going
the
to be what's
comebacks?
interesting to see.
Now,
I
as far as being in a championship game,
Oh,
Well,
just
being
championship game in
being
general.
having the
Yeah.
pressure
Yeah.
like that, like
yeah, 'cause,
that's
I mean, it's a different animal.
right. I mean, you think about the last play of the game against San Francisco 2 years ago for Dallas. That
Mhm.
was a Dak Prescott call, and he, it would have been not a bad call if there was 1 second left on the clock.
Mhm.
Put 1 second left on that clock, and all of a sudden, that was a great move.
Yeah.
But there wasn't a 1 second left on the clock. It was no time left on the clock, and that's the end of it. You know what I mean? There's decisions that got to get made on the fly. And I'm going to liken this to a different situation. Pat Mahomes won Andy Reid his first Super Bowl because
Mhm.
Andy Reid was about to bumble it up. And I remember on the field, Pat's like, what's going on? What's going on? I want the play. We got to hurry up. We got to hurry up. He called the play. That play went for a first down. The next play went for a touchdown. And he did not rely on Andy Reid. He actually won the game for Andy Reid.
Hmm.
That was very specifically done because Andy Reid was a bumble when it came to time management. And it was Pat Mahomes specifically who took the ball and ran with it and helped Andy get over that hump.
Yeah.
I can't say that Trevor has had that opportunity yet.
The Chargers game, and that was the biggest one. It's I'm at the game. You can listen to it after the fact. Now that the team puts out all the different video and everything else, the second half that was the post route to Zay Jones that was across the entire field. That was a busted coverage against match coverage. That was a Trevor Lawrence special. They basically spammed him that whole second half, and all because they were just like, "No, we're going to keep running this until they stop it." But that was all checks. So that's one of those situations where I'm like, all right, that was a good call, but I need to just see him do it more because he's had less opportunities than Dak. So I that's just the
And was
game
that a
comes
playoff
to
game?
mind. That
Was
was
that
the
a
game.
playoff-
That was the playoff game. They were down by like 21 or 24. or
But they
whatever it
kept
was.
doing the same play over and over again until you could stay. You
Until you could
got to
stop
stop this until
Until you could
you
stop
could
it.
stop it. And they couldn't stop it. And that's listen. The NFL lives on those types of plays.
Find a
lives
weak guy.
on those
Yeah,
types
find
of
a weak guy. Find a weak scheme, whatever it is, and just destroy them.
Yeah,
on
and
that.
Make
just
them
keep
stop
on
it.
going, keep on going, keep on going, keep on going. I understand, but that wasn't Trevor doing that. That was the offensive coordinator.
Nope, that was a check. It was a check.
Yeah, of course it was a check, but it was the offensive coordinator saying,
mm.
"Okay, this is." I mean, they found it.
Prep-
They said, "Okay,
prepping them at
this is
halftime
our
or whatever.
check
I got
each
you.
time. This is our check each time. You go to it, go to it, go to it, go to it, go to it until they could stop it, and they couldn't stop it, and you wound up winning the game, and that's
got you.
great.
Well,
But
I don't know that quarterbacks have the same latitude that they used to have because they have someone in their ear now all the time. Like it used to be, no one was in your ear. You didn't get the guy up top telling you everything. You were making plays. I don't know that a lot of these offensive coordinators give these quarterbacks the latitude they once had.
You're making the Tom Brady argument. That's literally what he said on that podcast a few months back. Is that he thinks there's 3 to 5 guys in the league max who's actually having to do it because of that exact same reason.
No, and honestly, I think that's true. Because you got somebody that can talk to you until there's 15 seconds left. So they can even look at a rough alignment of the defense before you go live. So, I mean, they could change the play call. You could check, and that's not even the quarterback checking it down. That could still be an offensive coordinator checking it down. Just looking at a defensive alignment. Now, they could be masking it, and it could be all, just BS. But, I mean, at the same time, you got someone in your ear the whole time, which is wildly different than it once was.
so that being said, going back to the original statement, that's where I say that he's got now 3 years
Mhm.
to prove that he's worth more money than Dak. At the moment, I say Dak is still worth more. And I'm not a Dak fan. Like I said, I hope they give Dak $100 million a year, 20 years,
Or need that.
guaranteed. Let's do it. Do it.
He's like, ruin that franchise. Yes, yes.
You hope they give him the Bobby Bonilla contract.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, exactly. Pay him till he's 104.
no doubt.
But I as of right now, I would have to put Dak as more worthy of more money. However, like I said, by a few
I got
million
you.
dollars.
And that's exactly why I said I just need to see more out of Lawrence. I mean, obviously, you can make the case that his first year was a throwaway year anyway because that team was as dysfunctional as any team that's ever taken the field. But yeah, I mean, again, at the same time, I want to see more out of him. Just like the Jordan Love situation. Like, I want to see more before you pay him a ton of money. We've seen 6-7 games that were awesome, and before that, they were all right.
So Love's so much different though, man. Jordan Love's situation is like if the Jaguars were trying to extend Trevor Lawrence last offseason. Like that's the comparison for me. If they extended him after the 2022 playoffs and then said, I would have some questions too. Like I at least understood them seeing the however many games it was this year before he got injured. I guess 13 games before he got injured this year. And that let them know, all right, cool. We have some tape to kind of judge this off of. We have a whole essentially 2 seasons to judge him off of. All right, cool. This is who he is. Jordan Love, Lord, that dude was he had a struggle bus first half of the season, and then just kind of came back and made it look pretty dope in the second half. That's a very small book, man. There's been a lot of guys who put together a great 7-game stretch. I mean, Fitz Magic and Minshew Mania, and there's a boatload of guys who I don't know about putting a 3 or 4 year contract on something like that, man, without seeing it, sight unseen, basically.
But I tell you what, as Scott just asked that question, the name that you mentioned, I believe, will become the first $60 million quarterback. Jordan Love.
You think so, huh?
I think so.
I think so.
Again, we could put that same argument down in place for him, but he's going to wind up being the first $60 million quarterback.
It's gonna be 4 at 240.
You think timing? You think he's just going to be behind Tua and behind Dak or whatever else? Or you just thinking it's because of skill or something different?
It's because the Packers don't have a choice.
Yeah, he's giving them the Daniel Jones.
The Packers don't have a choice.
They don't have anybody else.
They literally have Alex Magoo, who was in the USFL for 2 years with the Birmingham Stallions as a third string. They have a Michael Pratt out of Tulane as basically a practice squad guy right now, and then they have Sean Clifford out of Penn State, who was a 7th rounder as a backup. They don't have a choice.
Does Dallas have a choice? I mean,
yes, because Cooper Rush actually played well when he filled in for Dak Prescott.
No, he didn't.
It's not.
No, he didn't.
Is that really a choice? I mean, he played. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about.
And Dallas has a choice because they know Jerry Jones will spend money in free agency if he needs to. So Dallas still has
Jerry Jones is not very good at spending money in free agency.
He's not good at it, but people do it.
He's good at trading. He's good at trading, and he's good at drafting. But he's not necessarily an open market free agent guy.
Yeah. So Dallas, I think, has more of a choice than Green Bay.
And I think that Dallas can make the absolute choice on let's do what we got to do. We got to blow it up. They got to blow it up and start fresh. I think that they would be wise to get somebody like the coach of Georgia or somebody like that who can come in with a 3-year plan, 4-year plan, and do it like Jimmy Johnson did it.
And the other reason why I say the Packers don't have a choice is they have the youngest offense in the NFL. You extend Jordan Love now, you don't have to pay the rest of your offense till he gets to that final year of his contract. The longer you wait to extend him, more and more players are going to have to get paid before you can extend him.
I understand it. I even get the argument. Now, it's a solid argument if it works, but boy, if it doesn't, you just
and that's why I said I think $60 million, the first $60 million is going to be Jordan Love.
Yep.
And he's not worth it. He's not worth it even a little bit.
He's not worth it, but he's given the Packers really no choice.
And I'm so glad I'm so glad that the Eagles were way ahead of the curve,
Yeah.
and this all started with Jalen Hurts. That they were like, let's get him signed now because the numbers are only going to get
And you
worse.
and you have to look at the thing too. The Packers got rid of Jordan Love's 5th-year option and basically gave him a 2-year extension instead. So
Yeah.
technically speaking, he would actually be in his 5th year of his rookie deal this year, but now he's in the final year of that 2-year extension. So he doesn't even have those 2 franchise years anymore after that because he signed that extension. So by the Packers getting rid of that 5th-year option and signing him to that 2-year extension to cancel out the franchise tag years, so the Packers don't have a choice.
I feel for Matt LaFleur, man. That's my
Yeah.
guy.
I mean, like, how do you pay a guy after 6 really good games, 6, 7 really good games? I mean, because
Right.
the rest of the season was not great. I mean, it started terrible, and then they got better, and then he had a great run down the stretch. But to Travis's point, we've seen Fitzmagic rattle off 7 wins that looked amazing. I'm not giving him 60 mil.
Like, I don't mind giving them that, 50 to 50. I can't even say 50 to 55 range, but 50 to 55 range, depending on what the guaranteed structure. Because I say 50 to 55 range because we say these numbers, and so half the time they don't mean anything. And by the not meaning anything, I'm talking about what is the effective guarantees. What are we really talking about? If we have 1 year in the future where all of a sudden the cap hit goes from 35 to 75 million, we know that's never going to take place. They're going to restructure it. They're going to push it into the future, or they're just going to cut him before it becomes due. Whatever. I'm talking real effective guarantees. So if they can find a way to get Jordan Love, I don't know, at that 35 to 45 million dollar effective guarantee range, it doesn't matter. Like it's a fair deal, and that's kind of where it's going to have to come down to what is he truly pushing for.
Well, the
And-
numbers are always hilarious because, I mean, the best example of that, it was Taysom Hill. Like, on paper, that thing looked like it was going to be amazing, and he got a pack of Big Red and some Doritos. Like, he didn't get any actual money out of that deal. But on paper, it looked like they gave him a ton of money.
That's fair. No, but stat guy earlier said that the Cowboys might be, in a good position if they think about restarting this thing or rebuilding it, blowing it up, whatever it may be. But then, who is the person that they blow it up with? Like, who do they use as that vehicle to blow it up? Is that CD being traded? Is that Parsons being traded? Like,
So,
who do you have that can?
CD, I mean, to Scott's point here is, if they sign CD, I think they still blow it up. It's because when you look at Dak's contract, whether he's on the roster or not, he's a 60 mil cap hit next year, whether he's there or not. So it's going to be a tough place to.
And 45 million the following year.
Yeah, exactly.
Dang, really?
Oh yeah, and it doesn't matter. Like, he would be playing for somebody else, and he's that cap hit there. So this is a spot where, do you sign CD so that you have a number one, and then you look at, maybe you bring Trey Lance along. He's not the answer, but maybe you use him as a bridge or whatever. And then maybe you do a sign and trade for Parsons or something like that, because you don't have any money. And so at some point you have to blow it up. But if you're going to bring in a different quarterback, he needs someone he can throw the ball to.
Sign and trades in the NFL.
Otherwise, you're going to be
sign and
extraordinarily
trades
bad.
don't work in the NFL. They only work in basketball. And the reason why is because if you guarantee him any money, that guarantee part is on the team, not on whatever. So you'd have to trade him, and
or you make it an effective trade, guarantee as of a certain day, like a roster bonus, but it's not really a guarantee.
Right. So it's because there's no way that they would be able to do the sign and trade, and that's I talked to somebody the other day who says that he was friends or is friends with Micah Parsons. He's actually not friends with him. He's friends with his college roommate.
Okay.
So that he still talks to Micah on occasion. And because I said to him, I believe Micah Parsons wants to be an Eagle. And he's like, no, Micah Parsons doesn't want to be an Eagle. The reason why he doesn't want to be an Eagle, as funny as all excuses, he's like, he doesn't want his family trying to kiss his ass for tickets and stuff. That's what it came down to. That it's like he doesn't want the family pressure of having to provide tickets to everybody. because
mean,
Micah Parsons comes from, I think originally from a low income area, so
mhm.
that if he was playing in Philly, it would, that could be a real thing. Out of all the excuses I heard, it actually is the most real and viable on why he wouldn't want to come to Philly. But I think he wants to come to Philly. I still believe he wants to come to Philly. But as funny as that sounds, like it's okay. You know what though? I mean, because it's weird things with players. Players have weird reasons to do weird things, and it
Uh-huh.
could very well possibly be. It sounded credible, is what I was giving it. I was giving it credibility on that being the reason
I
that he
mean,
won't
most
come to
most
Philly.
guys don't want to deal with that. The one thing they don't want in their life is drama, especially family drama. I can understand that. And for someone like Michael Parsons, he's going to get paid pretty much no matter where he goes. Like you kind of know that's what it is. So that's a pretty big tiebreaker to say I'm not going to have to be drama. I'm not going to have drama from the people I talk to the most. Yeah, cool. I can see that. You're
So,
right.
but I still think he just likes too much Philly stuff, and he talks about the Eagles all the time. So that's why I believe that, you know, hey, you know what? He's a grown man. He could say no.
NFL fans are fun because because I know that if you're a Cowboys fan, you'd hate Parsons if he goes to somewhere like Philly or he goes to somewhere like New York,
Sure.
like he goes into any of the cities that's you know
All the stuff like, for instance, all the stuff that I read on Giants group pages
You're dead.
about
You're dead to me.
Saquon. Saquon is like, oh, he left for the money instead of being the man here. Like he could have been the all-time man. He could have been Lawrence Taylor for the rest of his life. I'm like, you
Yeah, but
are
they jerked
out of
him
your
around the whole time.
damn mind.
I
You're
know
out of your damn mind. Like you got rid of the best player you had on your team.
it's a
They
End
don't-
of
job.
story.
They dug their grave when they signed Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
When they
Bro.
signed Daniel Jones, you knew damn well Saquon was not going to stay there.
No,
It's
exactly. I mean, that is just they jerked him around. And so then they start jerking him around this last offseason. And then they're like, are you going to give us a shot? It's like, you guys shot your shot.
Yeah, and it's a job, bro. Like at the end of the day, people. I mean, I guess fans forget that fans are in it for the long haul. Like if you represent the city and you're going to be there for 30, 40, 50 years until you die, probably. Whereas these players, they didn't even get to choose the team half the time. They just got drafted there. Like if I get drafted to fight in a war for Japan or something tomorrow, that's the equivalent for me. Like if I don't even live where you are. You bringing me to your country to fight for you, and I'm fighting for you for 4 years, and then somebody else offer me more money. I'm a mercenary. That's it. That's what I am. Hey man, where is the money? Where do I want to go now when I get that contract time? Come on, man.
Well, and even if it was just the money, right? Say you're working somewhere and the team across the street that is direct competition to your company is like, hey, I will give you a little bit more money, but I also won't treat you like shit while you're here. You'd be like, all right, cool. Sign me up.
Exactly.
So I get it, but I know people would hate Micah if he does something going like crazy, like going to Philly though. And I understand the business, man. Money's calls.
Well, not just that, but you want to win a ring, right?
Right.
I mean, and let's be honest, in the NFC, Eagles got a shot.
Sure.
Cowboys have kind of missed their shot. Their window isn't shut completely, but I mean,
I don't know. I don't know.
Their
I think that
their window's not only shut, but it's nailed shut. It's been nailed shut since the end of the 90s.
Yeah, it's been boarded up like it's
I mean,
like a hurricane.
That's a little bit different. But when you're looking at the roster, like
Right.
the
It's not
roster says
impossible.
they have a shot.
This
not-
year.
That's what I'm saying. But realistically, last year was their final shot. This year, there's still kind of stuff that could make them interesting, but they're not a good enough team to win. So if you were Parsons and you're like, hey, I could get a raise and potentially win a ring, yeah.
Mhm.
Like, what are we even talking about?
Mhm.
Bags are already packed. They're in the
I'll be
club.
honest with you, Scott. As I read your statement there, I feel like that is an actual real spot that he could go. They are building what could possibly be the next named defense.
Yeah.
I feel that Houston, of all the different things, especially with their coach, the way they have it and stuff like that, that could be. And then when I say the named defense, that's going to, like the Steel Curtain, the Gangrene, the Purple People Eaters, something like that. That could be the next named defense.
Oh.
That comes out of the NFL, because we don't have one of those right now. There's not any. There's not a Gangrene defense. There's not a Steel Curtain. There's not, whatever the Dallas Cowboys called their defense and stuff like that. I mean, there's not been one for a number of years.
So there's a thin line. There's a definite thin line.
Really, probably since Seattle. Since
yeah, Legion of Boom.
The Legion of Boom.
Yeah.
Really.
That's a thin line between being, I don't know, the Steel Curtain or the Legion of Boom, or well, I guess the Legion of Boom, at least they were mostly drafted.
But you could see that almost. You could see how that's working out in Houston right now.
I see it. I just keep thinking about this being the Philadelphia Eagles. Like I feel like this is a boatload of big names, or maybe even the Rams at one point, like a boatload of big names signing free agency, but not necessarily just working out well together.
Not the dream team.
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah, that's what it just gives me that feel. Like, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I would love to see it.
I can understand that if you bring big names into offense. When you bring big names into defense, defensive players play, like you said, even if they're going after individual stats, they're playing as a unit. They have to, because if you get your stats and they're still scoring points and you're losing, you get lost in the shuffle. So you need everybody to play. And like I said, I know that's in your division. So I know you don't want that to be any name.
Oh, no, I promise you, this is no hope. This is no want. This is just me. That's my vibe. That's just the vibe that I get. And I'm hoping, because I've already said, I think there's a possibility that, CJ could have a sophomore slump. I don't know that I expect it, but there's that kind of thought just because of how he's talking this offseason, and that's naturally what happens in second years. But as far as the defense, I don't have a strong opinion or vibe. It's just kind of one of those, I don't know if this is going to work. It might, though. Like, it might, but it's just like I got questions. That's all.
Right. No, of course. And like I said, it's not the easiest thing in the world to have a defense strong enough to have a name put to it, to have a moniker. You know what I mean? That this is the Lone Star defense. You know what I mean? I mean, who knows what they're going to call themselves because they're the Texans. You know what I mean? It's like it's Texas-sized defense, the Texas Toast. Who knows? You know what I mean? It's like I don't know what they could be, but to even get close to having that moniker starts to signify a lot. And I don't know that they're one defensive stud challenging the Chiefs, because I think that you have to have the offense to do their job as well. And that's where your question marks come in, Travis. I understand that part, but not the defense. The defense is, if the defense is as strong as they are projecting themselves to be, it's possible that they could wind up, like my thought would be, if you are only letting up around 10 to 11 points a game, that's worthy of having a defense. And you do that for 2 to 3 years in a row, that defense becomes a name. That becomes the Steel Curtain. That becomes the Purple People Eaters. That becomes the Gangrene defense. Those are the things. You can't just do it 1 year. You got to do it multiple years.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's why Denver didn't end up with a name on theirs, because they were amazing, but it was 1 year.
It was a blip. Yeah, it was a blip. Oh, so yeah, if Houston finds a way to stop the run, that'd be their biggest thing, as far as if you're just talking the defense. So yeah, I can agree with you. We'll see.
And that gets us to the halfway point. Let's do our mid break here, and then want to talk to you guys about Kadarius Toney on the other side. See you in a minute.
This is Reggie Jones, owner and founder of Air Sports Academy. Air is based on 4 core principles: heart, education, integrity, resiliency. Air is about developing student athletes physically and mentally through training, mentorship, and effective marketing. We've created a platform and a blueprint for our state to shine in the brightest of lights. I created this program because it was a need for our state. We needed to have the light shine on the student athletes in our region. And now that is happening at an all-time and undeniable rate. We created a lane for the kids in our state to get their college education paid for and set their families up for future success. We created an environment where serious athletes can now come compete fearlessly. We've achieved this through our variety of elite programs. Our 6-month off-season program, where first-year starters or seasoned vets can all come develop. Our 5-on-5 program, which is all about our line. Our youth tackle program, which is the first and only youth tackle team from the state of Washington to ever win a major national championship. Our 7-on-7 program, which is ranked top 10 in the country every year. Our high school 11-on-11 club tackle program, which creates unique and much-needed opportunities for our kids. Our college prep program, which allows our graduates to come back from college and prepare for the upcoming season. Our track and field program, which creates an opportunity for our young air boys and air girls to continue to get faster. In your national program, you receive national respect, which is why when you look at recruiting boards and top player lists from around the country, you'll always find players from Air on those lists. Which is why college coaches from some of the most prestigious schools around the country come into our facility to recruit our players. The Penn State, Alabama, Oregon, Stanford, Florida State, the list goes on. Our players are being recruited, offered, and committing to some of the top schools in the nation. The experience our players and families receive is second to none. We offer a competitive brand of sports at Air. We are the ball. And with that comes great responsibility. Heavy is the head that wears the crown.
And this show is also brought to you by our Roku station renaming from Northeast Streaming Sports to National Sports Network as they continue to grow. So, Kadarius Toney is taking running back reps. And, just from the sheer entertainment end of it, it makes sense because he can't catch the ball. So you might as well hand it directly to him. But are they planning on using him as a Percy Harvin type receiver? Because that seems to be the type of reps he's taking now.
I think they are. I mean, that's the one player that he was compared to when he came into the draft was Percy Harvin. And ironically, he went to the same school that Percy Harvin went to. So, I mean, when he has the ball in his hand, he can make things happen. And you've seen that even when he was with the Giants, that when he had the ball in his hand, he had the agility, he had the speed, and he had the strength to make things happen. It was always catching the ball consistently. You get the ball in his hand, good things are going to happen.
And that was Percy Harvin, right? Like you couldn't always count on him to catch it, but once he had it, which is why he was involved in a million Jets games.
Everything.
Yeah. Except catching the ball. They didn't use him a lot for that. If you can get him
unless it was a screenplay. You threw a screenplay to Percy Harvin, he would never drop it. But then when you forced him to actually run a passing route, that's when he dropped it.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, that's who Urban Meyer wanted him to be. That was who Urban Meyer apparently wanted in the draft. At that time, and I'm like, I'm happy that he did not have that opportunity to draft him. But I mean, it's not a terrible idea. You want to get some value out of the guy, and if you think, well, he struggles catching the ball, well, how about giving him shorter catches? I mean, it's the Evan Ingram route all over. That he struggled in New York when they try to make him a vertical tight end. So what do? You run him on drags and crossers all day and just dump the ball off to him, 5-yard throws, and he catches them and just run off to the races. And it's also benefits the team because you have more speed and you kind of you can get teams on matchups because they don't know if he's going to be at running back or at wide receiver or whatever. I can understand that as a package. That's fine.
Is this like I guess it sounds to me more like instead of the guy you mentioned, I kind of think of it more like San Francisco, the way that they were using Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, but Deebo can catch, so you can send him downfield.
You have that option. I guess Laviska Shenault. That's the
Cordero Patterson's another one too, though. That was kind of like Percy Harvin, just bigger. Like Cordero Patterson was another one that had the speed, the strength, and just the agility to do stuff, but he just had bricks for hands and couldn't catch anything. That's why Cordero Patterson moved to running back permanently.
Yeah, I mean, you could make that same kind of thing for Devin Hester, right? Like he was a great return man, but they used him in the offense, but they usually used him on jet sweeps and stuff because a lot of times he wasn't a great pass catcher downfield. Otherwise, he would have had an amazing career if if he caught a little bit better.
Yeah.
I mean, not to say he didn't. Let me rephrase that. Like,
I mean, he knew how to catch punts and kicks. That's all he really needed to do.
well, they don't come in quite the same as a rifle shot from a quarterback.
Yeah, but I don't think there's any kind of even in anyone's imagination is he ever going to be your running back on a third down scenario trying to pass protect or anything like that.
No.
Yeah, he's definitely your guy. He was just going to be there for packages and gimmick plays, and again, for certain options to 3 to 5 plays a game, probably max. Because again, he's 195 soaking wet, whereas even the smallest back on their team is like 215, 220, something like that. So Isaiah Pacheco.
Well, I mean, Jared McKinnon's only like 190 pounds. 5'8" buck.
Is he really? Is he really?
Jared McKinnon's tiny.
I gotta look that one up. I don't even know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I could see it. I mean, even Seattle has used, not in the recent past, but they used Tyler Lockett that way a fair amount. He's not a big dude.
No, I got you. Well, the Google says Jared McKinnon is 5'9", 216. So unless your man had one of them take home meals.
He's
I got
that
nothing.
weight vest on.
Yeah, man, I got nothing. He's cheating the game somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Sproles, sure.
Well, yeah, he's the one. Yeah, Sproles is like the one.
But the thing with Tony though too that not a lot of people realize was he was third in the NFL in yards after the catch when he made the catch. So that's another reason why you want to put him at running back, because he knows how to break tackles and he knows how to make something happen because he knew how to get yak yards. So when he actually has the ball in his hand, he does what people say, he turns something out of nothing. Like even if the play looks dead, as long as he's got the ball in his hands, he can take like a 1 or 2 yard pass and turn it into like a 7-8 yard gain.
That's a sign of a good coach. He's trying again. He's doing that Bill Belichick thing where it's these guys who are rejects from all these other organizations because they're just not good at these other two things that we really want them to do. But he's just going to find all these opportunities or situations to put them in these isolated roles where I'm only going to ask you to do the thing that you might be good at. And so like you'll have that pass, that one guy who's going to carry the ball 300 times in a season, and then he has the other guy who just you're only here to catch the ball or you're only here to pass block, and you can build a solid team off doing that if you just are able to just use guys only in the ways that they're good at. So, hey, good job there. Hopefully it works out for him.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Otherwise, they get nothing out of him, and he's off the roster anyways. I mean.
Exactly.
Sticking with the Chiefs for a second, did you see the Patrick Mahomes and Xavier Worthy stuff yesterday?
Yeah.
No, I missed that, I guess.
I didn't want to see
five passes that traveled at least 65 yards down the field, hit Xavier Worthy in the stride, caught them all. Runs right by the defense like it was nothing.
Yeah. I saw 2 of the highlights. I'm just like, oh, yeah, not looking forward to that. I mean, like most of the rest of the NFL.
They even had a play where they had Snead kind of playing like a nickel spot. They had another cornerback on the outside trying to box him in. Split right between the two of them. Mahomes just chucks it like 25 yards over the head of them and just outruns the safeties completely, catches it in stride, touchdown.
Yeah.
Like must be
The only
nice
thing I saw from Kansas City was as they were walking onto the field, Carson Wentz just about tripped on his feet.
That's the thing I saw.
Yeah, I'm just not looking forward to Pat Mahomes actually having a real receiver threat. And
yeah.
Must be nice to have a bigger version of Tyreek Hill out there.
Jeez.
Yeah, no, with that kind of speed, it could be the first team to legitimately have that 3-peat shot.
Don't
not happening.
Don't do that.
They are not happening.
I don't think they do it, but I think they have probably one of the best shots at doing it.
I mean, yeah, but at the end of the day, the last year was the best chance for anyone to take that throne from the Chiefs, and
that's what I mean.
And nobody could do it. And the fact that if they actually do improve, they have to. Yeah, I kind of agree with Bo on that. Like they kind of have to be the favorites to do it. I mean, at this point, because damn, if you couldn't do it last year, then the chances of it going it's only gotten easier for them. I guess they've only gotten better. So
Listen,
man.
they are doing the one thing that they are doing wrong, that people that are doing offenses are doing wrong, is they are not doubling and tripling Chris Jones. Once you take him out of the mix, that defense has become soft. And that's real.
I don't
real.
disagree. I don't disagree. I just don't know how you can always do it. Like they move him around so often.
So the Eagles, one of their claims to fame, as you had what's his face just retire from the Rams, was
Aaron
that
Donald.
he never had a sack against the Eagles because they double and triple teamed him. And you know what happened? The Eagles always had the Rams number.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That being said,
I remember seeing a video where they had 4 guys around Donald.
right. So that's what you got to do. You have to take that into consideration. You got to triple team him the entire time. Everybody else is only average.
Okay, you're not wrong.
You know,
I mean,
and that's how you beat their defense.
Yeah.
That's how you
The
beat
way I
their
look-
defense.
But the Eagles
The way I
always
look
had a
at
good
it, too,
line.
Yeah, the way I look at it too is last year was the first year that you can legitimately say that Kansas City won despite of their offense. It was their defense that
no
won
doubt.
them so many games. So the question is their offense really going to be that bad again? Or if their offense gets anywhere close to what it was 3-4 years ago, are they going to need their defense to play that good again?
So your question is, are they going to drop half the balls they throw? Probably not.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like if they start scoring consistently 32, 33 points a game like they were doing when they won their first 2 Super Bowls, do they need their defense to play at the level they played at last year? Probably
No.
not, because how many teams are going to be able to go out there and score that many points with them week in and week out?
It's the Patriots argument all over again. Like the
That's,
Patriots have a
that's
great
exactly
defense,
what I was thinking.
bad defense, but they're never even bad. It's just a great defense, average defense, great defense, average defense. But you don't always have to be incredible. Just be good enough.
Exactly.
And the offense, when they figure it out, and they probably are, I don't know. I don't know. Like again, unless you like the Philly sports guys example earlier with the Eagles, like unless you were someone who has an incredible line who can put 2 guys on that incredible line on Chris Jones, and most teams just don't have that.
Right.
Then you are, hey man, you SOL. Like you should out of luck. Like I don't know what to tell you.
And then that comment that Paul just put on there, they're going to be better, but not nowhere near they are where they had Hill. They also signed Hollywood Brown this offseason. So now you have another one of the top 10 fastest guys in the NFL on your team.
Yeah.
You have arguably a top 3 fast guy in Worthy. Rashee Rice, if he's allowed to play, is another fast receiver. You have 3 of the fastest receivers in the NFL now on your team. Plus you have Kelsey. Plus you have Pacheco, who emerged as a solid running back last year. You still have McKinney. You still have Edwards-Helaire. You have Kadarius Toney. That offense is going to be a lot deeper than when they had Tyreek Hill, because back then it was literally chuck the ball as far as you could chuck at the Tyreek Hill, and you had Kelsey. You had nobody else but those 2 options. Now you legitimately have 5, 6, 7 options on offense to go to.
Yes, I forgot about Hollywood Brown. Lord,
Why does that list that you put out, like, you're looking at this Ferrari, and then you throw Tony out there, and you're like, but the Carfax didn't come back clean. Like,
but he's still a weapon when you get the ball in his hands. Like he's still an option that you're going to have out there. But in general, though, it's still more offensive weapons than Mahomes has ever had this year. It was always 1 or 2 go-to options. Now it's legitimately 5 go-to options and 2 or 3 more guys that he can trust when he needs to.
that's facts.
Like, how can you defend that as a coordinator?
Xavier Worthy with Hollywood Brown with Kelsey is that's a little much.
that's a problem.
You know, as a defensive coordinator, you physically cannot double team anybody.
Well, and then
Because you
in
can't
that scenario, as your slot guy, you have Tony running jet sweeps behind it. It's like, okay,
Well,
That-
you can't
that's
you can't double team anybody anymore. You can't double team Kelsey anymore because the other guys are going to eat you alive over the middle. Then, like now it's literally you're going to have to play these guys straight up single coverage pretty much the entire game, or play them in zone and hope nobody can get behind you.
It's gonna be 2 deep all day. That's what it's gonna be. It's gonna be covered 2 all day, and I hope I have the dogs in the middle to stop you from running against it. You're gonna have to kick field goals all day, Chiefs. I don't know what to tell you.
if nothing else, it'll be 2-man. You're
Shoot.
keeping that umbrella no matter what.
11 field goals. This is what it's gonna be. Goodness. Thanks for ruining my day, stat guy. I didn't even think about that, man.
But I mean, but you look at it last year, because when Kansas City was struggling last year, why were they struggling? It's because they were double and triple teaming Travis Kelce because nobody else could catch the ball.
Yeah, they didn't have the receivers to threaten anybody.
Once the playoffs started and Rice started to emerge and all these other guys started to catch the ball, you couldn't double team Kelce anymore. And look at how much better the offense looked in the playoffs.
Well, and Kelce, let's be honest, actually dropped more balls
He dropped
last
more
year than he ever has in his career.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he had kind of an off year, and they still got a ring. That being said, I don't have them in the Super Bowl with my way too early prediction. But if there was a team that had a real shot at three-peating, it's this team.
Yeah.
You're voting
I agree.
against them.
I am.
I'm voting against them too, but I'm just like Bo said. I think this is the best chance that we're going to have to see of a three-peat with this roster.
For sure.
Okay.
So in the final 10 minutes here, NFLPA has officially started talks for an 18-game season. Not a huge shock, right? It's something that's been rumored for a long time, but
The fact that it's coming from the NFLPA is exciting.
that means it's probably going to happen.
Yes, It's definitely going to happen.
So then all of a sudden, what's this look like? You have two, you probably have 2 bye weeks. The start of the season is probably a week earlier, 2 weeks earlier, something like that. Either that or they're going to have it start at the same time, and that way it ends on a holiday. So now you have the Monday after the Super Bowl off for most people. You know, it's
There's
and then
one.
you get rid of another preseason game, maybe.
Yeah, there's supposed to be one universal bye week for everybody, which I think they said was going to be like week 12 or week 13, which is a universal bye week for everybody.
It's probably going to be week 14.
Yep, and they're going to do like
the week after Thanksgiving.
And they're going to use
week
that
in
week as a
December.
Pro Bowl. And they're going to use that week as like the Pro Bowl, that week as like your skills competition, kind of what every other sport does. And then basically you level the playing field out. Everybody's ready to go week 15 through 20.
All right.
So everyone's basically going to have 2 bye weeks in the first 14 weeks. Week 14 will be the universal bye week, and then everybody else has their other bye week weeks 1 through 13.
Not 1 through 13. It's going to
whatever they
it's going to
start.
be from like I think week 4 to week 10.
Yeah,
is when you're going to get your bye week. So
Well,
in
what
that
are
in that
the
mix,
players? Sorry, go ahead.
The players want it because they're kind of sick of how the Pro Bowl is now. They want people that actually get voted in to show up, as opposed to like if you're going to the Super Bowl, you know, play the Pro Bowl.
But
Like,
that
they
doesn't
want-
feel like a material enough reason to broach the conversation, unless because it's always negotiations. Like I'm asking for this to get this,
and because they're sick of like how some teams get a bye week in week 4, and then they have to basically play 14 games the rest of the way, and then some teams have to go 12, 13 weeks before they have their bye week, and then all of a sudden, what happens if you lose one of your best players in week 14 because you didn't have a bye week?
Well, so
They want to level out the playing field the rest of the way for the final 6 weeks. They want to level out the playing field where people have injuries. That week 14, as long as it's not a season-ending injury, you can let everybody heal up, and then the playing field is level the final 6 weeks.
So that would be, the thing that would be interesting with Scott's comment here, where it would be 6 and 7, NFC 1, AFC the next, and then again 14 and 15. That would be an interesting way to go. Then you'd be able to plan for it a little bit better as a coach, as opposed to, preseason. You don't really know what that look. Well, I mean, you do now because the schedule's been released, but when you're looking at, I always hate like a week 5 bye week. That's the worst.
What's the cap right now?
For
220?
No, it's like 260. I thought it was 258 or 262.
Yeah, I thought it was
mix.
250 plus.
And it's probably 258. Okay, because I'm trying to figure that out because obviously going to that extra week.
255.4.
Okay.
255.4. So
255.4 right now. It increased 30 million, so it was 225 last year.
Okay.
Divided by 17 is 15 million. So in theory, the cap would go up unseen right now in that regards. It would go up to 270.
Sure.
For adding the extra week because you're going 15 million a week. You're going to add that up to 270. it would probably go to 300 million.
Well,
That would be the cap.
especially if they let them increase the roster size, which I would think if you're adding another regular season game, they may give you an extra three.
Nope.
three-
So
trying to
what
keep
they
it the
did, they kept it now. It's still 53.
Mhm.
They added the 15 players to the practice squad. That's where you got the people added. So it's now 53 plus 15 makes it 68. They may give you the extra spot for another quarterback. May go to 54 people for that emergency quarterback and an emergency quarterback in your. So go to 16 and
Not
54.
impacting your roster, only for the quarterback.
16 and
basically.
54, which would make it 70 men on the roster in general.
Yeah.
So the last CBA negotiation, when they went to 17 games, they gave the players an extra piece of the pie, a bigger piece of the pie on the actual income. So that's probably going to have to be an additional payoff, no matter what happens. But
Well, they got it. They got it.
Yeah.
They got what 49%, right? They're 49%. It's 51% to the owners, 49% to the players.
I don't even remember the
I think
exact
that's what it is. It'll probably be an even split of 50-50. So that's why I'm saying it'll probably go up to about 300 million because of all the revenue that comes out, and them adding an extra 1%.
And them changing the offseason calendar, like they've already kind of hinted at. That's
The owners get 52% right now. The players receive 48.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm guessing it could go 51-40. I think it'll go 51-49. I don't think the owners will ever give up basically a majority stake of it. I don't think the owners.
Well, actually, because it could be 50.1, 49.9.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think the owners will ever go down to an even 50-50. I think it'll go down to like 51.5, 49.5, just so the owners have that little bit more than they do.
Right.
So that sounds like a general. We sound like we have a general idea. All right, cool. They're gonna. They may potentially change. Yeah, change the number.
300 million is the cap. We start this next year. We get
off-season
the
calendar.
Super Bowl. The Super Bowl happens now on President's Day.
Exactly.
The other part of this is going to be the AFC and NFC championship games are going to possibly be neutral fields. That's going to be a big thing because if you're going to do that, imagine having to go to Green Bay in the beginning of February to go play a football game. You're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. You know, imagine having to do something like that. They're going to have to make those warm weather stadiums type thing. They're going to have to go
or domed.
Yeah, well, exactly, or domed. But you're going to start to see that come up in the conversation. Because we know that half it's going to be 16 teams playing on the road at overseas somewhere. That's the other part of this. It's literally half of the league is going to play overseas.
See, and I don't know if that one gets pushed through. That's going to be an interesting one. That's one
it'll get pushed through.
But that's one that I feel like teams would push against, like especially those teams who are in those areas who feel like that's a competitive advantage. Like I don't know, a Green Bay. They may be like,
when it gets that cold, there's no competitive
advantage. Green Bay is 2-8
because it's way too freaking cold.
Yeah, exactly. Green Bay finds a way to lose
Green
those
Bay
games.
Green Bay in their last 10 playoff games at home. There ain't no more advantage at Lambeau Field because nobody wants to freaking sit outside when it's negative 15 degrees with a negative 40 wind chill and get the shit kicked out of them.
I don't even have time to make the argument because we're running low on time. But I'm going to say, agree to disagree. I played in Northern Michigan after UCF, so I'm just like,
that's right. As long as you can pay people.
I live just outside of Green Bay.
Yeah, but you didn't do that in February, Travis.
Yeah, I live just outside of Green Bay. I hear how the Packer players talk about the weather there. Packer players want nothing to do with Green Bay anymore.
Maybe December, January, February gets a lot colder.
Yep. Yeah. And that brings us to the top of the show. We appreciate Travis coming on. If you were watching, be sure to like and subscribe our channel. Helps us bring content to you. If you're watching here on Roku, stay tuned for the next hour. Other than that, we will see y'all tomorrow.